Once again, as we approach high time frame resistance on the Bitcoin chart, the market gets euphoric. But are we in store for another rejection that sends us back to the depths of hell, or is an altcoin season of the ages on the horizon for us? Today we're going to take a look at this and more. On my display right now, I have the Bitcoin US dollar chart open, and as you can see, we are currently getting rejected from the 200-day moving average, which just so happens to coincide with that multi-month downtrend that we've been highlighting on this channel for many months. In fact, since that May crash of 2021. In fact, 2 months ago to the day, I made a video explaining that we are possibly, very likely, making a macro market bottom, and that was around this region right here, when we were coming back to capture liquidity from that initial May crash that we had in 2021, which just so happened to be exactly what happened. Now, the reason that I can say that we are very much still in an uptrend is if we draw a line like this, a trend line from December 2020 to the current stage in the market that we're at right now, you can see that we are very much making higher lows, and we did make 2 higher highs. Now, of course, we have yet to reclaim the all-time high of $69,000 and create a new higher high, but we have made a higher low. So if we were able to flip this resistance over here and turn it into support before making a new higher high, it is likely that we will see newer highs for Bitcoin this year or next year. But in the event that we do get rejected from this 200-day moving average, which in my eyes is a very important moving average for this exact reason that I'm about to show you over here. Now, this 200-day moving average, the reason that we highlighted is it's typically a bull market support band. Generally, when we're above it, we use it very much as support and might touch it multiple times. However, if we're below it, we get rejected from it. That generally ensues a multi-month or multi-year bear trend or bear market after that. If we go back to 2017, 2018, when we did have that initial major market crash, you can see that we rallied around 55%, we rallied around 46%, and we rallied around 35% from the lows to that 200-day moving average before getting rejected and continually heading lower. Now, at this very moment that we're in right now, even though we've had some major Bitcoin moves in the past couple months, we're up around 44% since the lows that I made in that video over here, marking the macro market bottom. 44% might sound like a significant gain, but we're nowhere near all-time highs, and we are in fact approaching that 200-day moving average. So this is a very important and critical moment that we're looking at right now. But with that being said, even being below all-time highs and below the 200-day moving average, we have had quite a significant run for altcoins over recent months. 8.5% for Bitcoin, 10% for Ethereum, 6% for BNB, 32% for Solana, 6.6% for grandma's favorite stablecoin Cardano, 10% for Terra, and 13% for Avalanche over the past week. Now, the reason for this is that, of course, we are having somewhat of a downturn in the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, Bitcoin dominance, of course, relates to the value locked or the value sustained in Bitcoin versus the rest of the market. Now, we got rejected from that 44% mark, and generally when this happens and when the Bitcoin dominance heads to the downside, that capital has to flow somewhere else, and generally that flows into altcoins. Of course, it may flow entirely out of the market as investors take profits into the real world, as investors are scared of risk on assets, or the macro environment is afraid of risk on assets. They might take those assets into the real world. However, when there's some significant exposure to risk on assets, that capital then flows around the market to altcoins, just as we've seen in the gains in the recent weeks. Now, even though we are in what would be typically called a bear market, many altcoins, one in particular that I'm a very huge fan of that I've mentioned many times on this channel, Terra, in fact made new all-time highs recently, and the reason for that is also the reason for Bitcoin making a significant rally in recent weeks, and that is of course because Terra smash buys $139 million worth of Bitcoin, and the wallet reaches 31,000 Bitcoin. Now, the reason Terraform Labs or Terra is buying this Bitcoin is to back or maintain the peg of the UST stablecoin. Now, if you don't know anything about Terra or Luna, I've got a video on my channel that covers this in depth, but essentially Terra and Luna are the moon and the earth, and the algorithmically backed stablecoin is maintained its peg by Terra Luna. Now, in the event of a bank run, which seems to be the major narrative, that if this does end up happening and people want to start selling off their Luna at fast rates, that UST might lose its peg, and Terraform Labs understands this. So what they're trying to do is build up their Bitcoin reserves, because they do believe it's the major asset and possibly the best and most sound money in the world, to back the reserves and back and maintain the peg of the UST stablecoin. You can see this, the reason why we are particularly interested in Bitcoin is because we believe that it is the strongest digital reserve asset, and the team has bought more than $1 billion in Bitcoin since the end of January. I think at this point it's around $1.5 billion, possibly even more by the time you watch this video. Now, in this video, you can see that Do Kwon, the founder of Terraform Labs and CEO of Terra, says that besides Satoshi, we will be the largest single holder of Bitcoin in the world, and the failure of UST is equivalent to the failure of crypto itself. Now, I am myself very much a Luna bull and a strong believer in UST and Terra. In fact, I made a public buy a few months ago calling out my support for Luna, and in my private community I explained exactly when I was purchasing the Luna, and since then we've made significant gains on Luna. The initial call was around $15, then at $29 publicly, and now Terra Luna of course made recent all-time highs of around $111 and still sitting at $103. Even in a bear market, Terra Luna has pretty much outperformed every single other coin on the market, and I myself am very, very proud of that call as well. Now, if you do want additional information from our private community, please don't forget we do have a Discord, and if you want access to this, you need a YMH key. A link to that is in the description below. We have many weekly calls, we chat with the community, we have NFT Alpha, Crypto Alpha. We're talking about the 2 NFT projects that you can mint using the YMH key coming up in the future that you guys are the directors of. You're able to steer the direction of where our project goes, who we collaborate with, who we get whitelist spots from. NFT Alpha and Crypto Alpha, we've got people scouring the net every single day trying to find information and bring you the best news and alpha. So if you don't want access to all of this, please don't forget there is a YMH key in the description below. We do have a Twitter Spaces coming up this weekend on Sunday the 3rd of April, and then we have NFT Alpha and community calls coming up in the following week. So if you want access to that, go check it out in the description below. But with that being said, I still am very much a huge UST and Luna fan, and I'll allow you to watch the video in your own time to understand exactly why Do Kwon himself is a huge bull on Bitcoin and on Luna. Now, with that being said, we can see that Anchor, which is one of the major protocols or lending protocols on the Terra ecosystem, has recently leapfrogged both MakerDAO and Aave with the highest total value locked of around $15 billion, meaning that the demand for UST is in fact increasing day by day. Now, this demand for UST further backs my bullishness for Luna, because I do believe it's one of the strongest assets out there, and is why I'm continually accumulating more even after the significant gains that it has made recently. When I did make the initial call on Twitter as well, it was up 800% in recent months, and I made a tweet about it, and some people were saying, well, of course, with that significant gain already, it's only downhill from here, and yet we have made more than a 5x gain from that point. So my conviction in Luna is still very, very strong, and I say this many, many times over and over again, that have high conviction, make big bets, and make them early and let them run. Don't try and chase the market, don't try and outbid everyone, don't try and out trade everybody. Have your conviction, have your bets early on, understand what you're investing in, and the outcome will be very much in your favor. And with that being said, of course, Luna is not the only thing I'm invested in. I'm very much an Ethereum bull as well, and historically, April has become a very, very bullish month for Ethereum. If we take a look at a chart here from Crypto Gucci on Twitter, you can see that April historically has been a very green, very bullish month, except for 2016. Now, just because this has happened in the past doesn't necessarily mean that history has to repeat itself, but does give us an indication of what possibly may happen in the future. Now, if we had significant gains in April in the past, it's likely that we could have that in the future. And the reason being is that there's a lot of bullish narrative around Ethereum right now, and I tweeted about this recently as well, that I like the bullish narrative developing around Ethereum. And around that point, Ethereum has rallied significantly as well since we touched this trend line here around 2,500. We're up to $3,500 as well. Now, this bullish narrative is, of course, the switch from proof of work over to proof of stake as Ethereum enters its Gasper proof of stake model. Now, this may be closer than what we expect, as Vitalik muses on how proof of stake could have come sooner, with the merge coming. Ethereum's chief scientist and muse takes stock. Now, Ethereum's environmental footprint will dramatically shrink alongside its block rewards under proof of stake consensus, coupled with a fee burn introduced by EIP 1559 last August. And if you've been using Ethereum or using OpenSea or NFTs or trading or anything recently, you'll notice that Ethereum has some of the lowest fees it's had ever. because, of course, thanks to EIP 1559. Many analysts believe that Ethereum will become deflationary once it's moved to proof of stake, meaning that more Ethereum will be burned than created and possibly paving the way for significant price gains. And of course, this is due to Ethereum becoming a deflationary asset and then having a supply shock. I encourage you to go and look at ultrasound.money, and you're able to simulate what will happen after the merge happens to get an idea of what the inflation of Ethereum currently looks like. Now, as you know, the issuance of Ethereum comes to an existence due to Ethereum being mined. Now, when we move over to proof of stake, that issuance will decrease, and at the current supply growth over the 1 day will be down by 1% per year. But if we go over the 30-day, you can see negative 0.7% and all-time down 2.2%. Ethereum could in fact become a deflationary asset, and many people are comparing this to when Bitcoin's mining difficulty increases every 4 years, the Bitcoin halving, which leads to significant price gains in Bitcoin as Bitcoin becomes harder to mine, harder to access, less Bitcoin in existence, and we have a supply shock. Now, we could have something to an astronomical scale, in fact 3 times larger, or the triple halving that many people expect for Ethereum, leading to significant price gains in Ethereum in the coming future. Now, I'm very much an Ethereum bull as well. I've mentioned in previous videos, I do have a link on my channel to another video where I explain why I maintain or hold most of my wealth in Ethereum, because it has in fact outperformed everything up until this point besides Luna compared to all other altcoins. So I've made some significantly good bets in the recent months and recent years, and I'm happy to share that with you guys as members of the community and watchers and viewers of this channel. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please comment down below supply decrease, and we will see you in the next video. Please give the video a like, a thumbs up, and hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Cheers.